Today on the I Still Love Wearing G-Shock Says Drew Says podcast, I will be discussing Susan Wojcicki stepping down as the CEO of YouTube, if expensive shotgun microphones do better at rejecting background noise, and a whole bunch of other stuff too, so go ahead and stick around. Alright, we are going to try to skip editing again this week. I should probably stop announcing that because I am going to try to do this going forward and nobody gives a heck. But red alert, red alert, red alert. Susan Wojcicki announced this week she is stepping down as the CEO of YouTube. And I am going to be quiet, and I want you to listen very, very carefully. Open up your listening ears, put on your thinking caps, and listen. Did you hear that? That was the collective cheers, yips, yelps, and yells of millions of content creators. They are flipping cars, lighting them on fire, burning down their cities because they are so happy that the Wicked Witch of YouTube is finally stepping down. Oh my God, the most evil person to ever exist is stepping down as the CEO of YouTube. That is sarcasm on my behalf. Why? Because I think Susan Wojcicki might be the most hated individual by the content creator community. Among content creators, I don't think there's a single person that is more hated than Susan Wojcicki. I understand why that's the case, but at the same time, I think it's unwarranted, unjustified, and a bit unfair. That seems contradictory, so let me go ahead and explain. She is the CEO of YouTube. What is YouTube? It is the platform where millions of content creators have built their careers. So when something goes wrong on the platform, on YouTube, who is going to receive the blame? Who is going to receive the fault? The CEO, the figurehead of that platform. So when your revenue decreases, who's at fault? Susan Wojcicki. When your views decrease, who's at fault? The Wicked Witch of YouTube. When your reach decreases, who's at fault? Susan Wojcicki. That comes along with the territory. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't place the blame on her. The buck stops with me, right? That's how that works. That is why CEOs, or that's partially why CEOs get paid so much, because they receive the blame of everything. They are the scapegoat for everything that goes wrong because they are the ones steering the ship. So on one hand, I understand it completely. On the other hand, I think it might be overstated. I think the outrage may not be 100% justified. And in the grand scheme of things, I think she's done a pretty damn good job. Look at all the other social media platforms over the last 10 years. Look at Facebook. Look at Twitter. Look at MySpace. MySpace may have already been gone at that point. Look at all the other social platforms. Snapchat. Think how well you would be doing if you had built your career on one of those other social media platforms compared to YouTube. All things considered, you are doing pretty well if you built your career on YouTube, if you built your business on YouTube. Of course, there will still be standouts because people have been banned. The removal of the dislike button, stupid, not a big deal for me, but I understand why people hated that. Maybe you were somebody who's been demonetized because you make extremely edgy content. But my point is, in the grand scheme of things, YouTube has been pretty stable, pretty consistent, and pretty great for content creators. But the reason why I'm also giving Susan Wojcicki a little bit of leeway is I think the CEO position of YouTube is an impossible job. I think what she is doing, or what the CEO in general has to do at this company, is impossible. I went ahead and I looked up the largest corporation in the world. The largest corporation in terms of number of employees is Walmart. They have 2.3 million employees. Then I went into Google and I looked up how many YouTube channels there are. Very hard to find an accurate number here. I saw ranges from 50 million to 100 million to 325 million was the highest I saw. That's not what I want. So I went ahead and looked up how many channels upload. And again, I had a huge range ranging from 15 to 25 million. So let's say it's 15 million channels. That means the CEO of YouTube is making sure that 15 million individuals are happy with where the ship is going. They have to make sure that 15 million artists, 15 million creatives, 15 million emotional people whose careers have been built on this platform are happy with every decision that is made. That's impossible. That is an impossible task. There are some decisions that are obviously not going to be popular with content creators. But as I say every single time I talk about this, content creators are not the real business model of YouTube. I understand without content creators, nobody would be on YouTube watching. But the viewers are the real bread and butter of YouTube. But YouTube, the CEO, has to make sure that 15 million artists are happy. No, that will never happen. Artists want to be left alone. This is my art, man. You can't tell me what to say. I want to say what I want to say when I want to say it all the time, and I want to scream it from the mountaintop, and I want you to pay me to do it. I know, because that's me. I don't want to classify myself as an artist. I will classify myself as a YouTuber, and I want my money. I want my views. Give me my views and money, YouTube. So that alone, impossible. But on top of that, there are other things that need to be done by the CEO. The CEO also needs to make sure that advertisers are willing to spend their money on the platform. They need a revenue source. So Susan had to go around and pitch the idea that putting your advertising dollars on YouTube was beneficial for you. No, putting your money in YouTube is not going to have a negative impact on your brand image. Putting your money on YouTube is going to increase sales. It is going to increase your bottom line. Your cost per acquisition is going to be great, better than any before, because we have all the tracking statistics. We know exactly who you can target. That's impossible as well, especially given all the outrage, all the drama over the last 5 years. Making artists happy, making sure advertisers are happy. But as I already alluded to, that is not all that the CEO has to do. He will also have to focus on the technology side of things. Of course, you probably have a CTO who is going to also be very responsible on that, but the CEO is guiding all of it. They need to make sure the website is stable. They need to make sure that it is usable. They need to make sure that the viewer has a fantastic experience. They need to make sure that they continue to develop new features to keep people interested and engaged, and to increase watch time and to increase ad revenue, all through the technological side of things. And then they need to make sure that viewers stay on the platform, enjoy their experience, watch videos, and want to come back. Those are 4 things that I'm sure there are a million more things that they have to do. But from my point of view, from my perspective, that seems impossible. So yes, there have been failures. Yes, there have been missteps. Yes, there have been just flat out bad decisions. But in the grand scheme of things, I'd say Susan did a pretty damn good job, and the platform has been pretty damn great for a vast majority of us. There will be some standouts who obviously disagree. People who have been demonetized, people who have been banned. I was banned too. I still think YouTube has been pretty darn great over the last 9 years. The entire time Podcastage has been around, and the entire time that I have been doing this podcast on YouTube, it's been Susan. She's been the CEO. I know nothing else, because I didn't pay attention to what was going on at YouTube's corporate office in 2005. Not 2004. They weren't around in 2004. So I couldn't have. But there was no money in YouTube in 2005, 2006, 2007. So I couldn't care less about what was happening. But nowadays, I care a heck of a lot more about it. And I'd say, all things considered, they did a good job. But let me go ahead and be quiet one more time. I'm going to let you listen, and I want you to listen extra careful.
Oh no!
I know you heard that one. That was the sound of millions of content creators' sphincters collectively slamming shut because they are so damn terrified of what comes next. You may hate Susan. You may think that she ruined the platform. Better the devil you know. Better the devil you know. What's next? What's this next CEO going to be like? What are they going to do? We know what Susan did. We know how she performed. Some of us like it, some of us dislike it, some of us are middle of the road. It was fine. The next person, I don't know. And that's a terrifying prospect for millions of content creators who have built their careers on the platform. I will throw a couple of links in the description in the episode notes. I will just grab a screenshot and read you Susan's tweet. I'm not going to read you the entire blog post, but I will link it if you want to read it. She says, "Today, after 25 years at Google, I am stepping back to start a new chapter. I am inspired every day by creators around the world who bring people together on YouTube. It's been an honor to have a front row seat to this incredible community." That is all I will read from Susan, but as a small YouTube content creator, I don't want to hate on Susan. Yes, she has had her missteps. I want to thank her for doing such a good job for the last 9 years. The fact that YouTube has been this stable is a miracle when you look at the rest of the ecosystems out there, the rest of the platforms out there. If I had made the decision to build my entire career, my entire business off of Snapchat, off of Instagram, I'd be much worse off. So Susan, thank you so much for all that you have done over the last 9 years. I think you have done a fantastic job. That is it for the news. I have nothing else to talk about, so let's jump to what I have been testing. I am on a brand spanking new mic. It is not even available. And yes, this is a massive brag. Neener, I have it, you don't. You can't even get it. I did make sure that I wasn't under NDA. I made sure that I wasn't, and I said, can I use this on my show? They said, yes, you can. And then I looked up, it's public on their website. This is a Lewitt handheld condenser microphone, full disclosure, sent to me by Lewitt so that I can review it. This is me using it to get real-world experience and learn the microphone before I review it. This is the Lewitt MTP W950. The big feature of this one, you can unscrew the capsule, and it has a sandwich connector. It has the standard wireless connector. So, as you can see, if you're watching, the microphone has a body and an XLR output. I am running this as XLR. So, you can buy this, use it as XLR, unscrew the top, and then throw it on your Shure wireless system or any other number of wireless systems, and you get that Lewitt wireless capsule. That's a pretty neat solution. But not only that, it is also a multiple polar pattern mic. It has cardioid and supercardioid, full 1-inch large diaphragm condenser, a high pass filter, and a 12 dB pad. And I did ask them because they currently have the MTP 940 CM, which is another 1-inch handheld condenser. I asked them, is it the same capsule? No, this is a completely new, redesigned capsule, not in any of their other handheld condensers. And it is pretty interesting. Pretty interesting solution here, XLR or wireless. And as far as the sound, pretty standard Lewitt sound, a very top-focused, lots of detail, lots of articulation. I am sure you are hearing lots of mouth clickety clacks. And I am hand-holding it for this episode because why not? It's a handheld microphone. I was going to stand up this entire episode, but then I couldn't. I'm not in any frame right now. This is just unwatchable content. I couldn't get my printer to work, so I couldn't stand up and film. I need my notes in front of me. So this is what I am testing. I am running through the Universal Audio LA610 Mark II, then into the Universal Audio X8. Yep, there you go. That's what I've been testing. Let us jump to what you had to say. The first comment comes from May Love Cosplay. As a TikToker for 19 months and a YouTuber for 4 months, it sounds like YouTube will pay more than TikTok. My friends who are monetized on all platforms say YouTube pays the most for short-form video. I will say, in 4 months, YouTube is now my biggest platform at 30K, and I'm currently learning how to make long-form content and how to live stream. I think Shorts is how I will get a lot more followers, and long-form/live streaming will be how I make this into a full-time job in the future. Fingers crossed. May Love Cosplay, thank you very much for the comment. I had to include this because it is interesting hearing from somebody who was primarily a TikToker and now they are moving over to YouTube, but more importantly, that they have friends monetized on all platforms and they find that YouTube pays the most for short-form video. That blows my freaking mind, because last week, I reported what my CPM was. And before anybody jumps in and says, Bandrew, your CPM was skewed. There's no way it's that low. I saw Roberto Blake start a Twitter thread. I can't remember what it's called. But he started a thread asking, what is your CPM for short-form content? I want to know what you're earning so I can get a baseline for the CPM for shorts on YouTube. You may have thought, 6 cents, that's just because of the area that he's in. The range that I saw in the responses, and there were plenty of responses, 2 cents to 8 cents. The highest CPM that I saw was 8 pennies for 1,000 views. That's not a lot of money. And the thing that's mind-blowing to me, YouTube seems to be paying the most. I did see an article, I didn't read it. I saw the headline, TikTok reassessing their creator fund or restructuring their creator fund. But as long as they continue to stick with the fund route, where they have a set dollar amount, and that is divvied up among the views of the entire platform, I guess they won't be able to compete. Because if they just have that baseline dollar amount, there's more creators always uploading to TikTok. That means more views. That means every view becomes less valuable. So I guess in theory, just based solely on that, YouTube will pay better, even though it is only 6 cents. 8 cents, 2 cents, still better than TikTok, it seems. But I would love to hear a report back from you in the future, because I think it's fascinating hearing what your strategy is. Coming from TikTok over to YouTube, planning to use shorts to grow the audience, and long-form videos on demand and live streams to grow the revenue and earn the money. Would love to hear from you in 4 months, 6 months, 12 months, and let us know how that's going for you, how it's working out, how shorts are working for you. Would love to know more. Thank you very much, May. Appreciate you. Next, we have a comment from MindBrain Studio. They say, Bandrew, it was nice of you to set up that demo with the overhead boom. FYI, a higher quality lavalier might suit some users. I was pleasantly surprised when I tried the Countryman B3 Omni Lav Mic, $183 currently. It is so tiny that it can be hidden between the buttons, behind many fabrics, at chest level on a button-down shirt, and still provide clear audio. MindBrain Studio, thank you very much for the comment. This is great information to have. I have not dove too deep into professional lavalier microphones because that is kind of out of my wheelhouse. I don't want to cover stuff that Curtis Judd and sound speeds and all the other pros cover and just end up with my foot in my mouth and my rear end on the ground, just in shame. I don't want to do that. My approach to a lot of this gear is, this is how it works in a spare bedroom, because that's what most of us content creators are doing. We have a spare bedroom. We want to do it for fun. We don't have a massive budget for it. We're just going to use what we can. So I have the Deity Pocket Wireless. I have the Rode Wireless Go 2. I have the DJI wireless system. And those seem to be the primary tools that at-home small content creators pick up and rely on. So that's my primary focus. That is what I am starting with. Once I get through all that, once I learn a lot more about LUFS, which I have been learning a ton about, not through reading, not through watching a bunch of videos, not through theory, just through application, just by using it. I did a short where I said, what's the best position for a lav mic? And I tried it in 5 different positions. That wasn't to help anybody else out. That was because I was curious about it and I wanted to listen with my own ears and determine which one sounded the best. I found out that right in between the man nips, look out, wet nips, is where it sounded the best. And that is why I keep putting the lavalier microphone right between my moobs, my man boobs. Through application is how I learn. Through reading, through theory, through watching, I don't learn as much. I need to learn the hard way. I need to make mistake after mistake after mistake. I need to put my foot in my mouth. I need to screw up. I need to make terrible sounding recordings, which I have. I used a lav mic for a video on my watch channel. It sounds god-awful. But now I know, don't set your gain so high on the transmitter, and maybe don't clip it to the bill of your cap because maybe the corduroy on it is impacting the acoustics of the lavalier microphone, which is omnidirectional, you dope. I learned that through application, not theory, not reading, not watching. So maybe once I get through all the more affordable stuff, the content creator focused stuff, then I will look into more professional level lavalier microphones that may actually sound good. Because right now, the ones that I have don't sound very good. Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have a comment from Jeff Sankrika. They say, what about the MKH416 as the shotgun mic? Question being, are you able to use a higher quality mic away from the source and get better sound? Jeff, thanks for the comment. I recorded a test. I recorded a demonstration because I think that is helpful. So let us go to the living room and I will do a test for you. All right, thank you very much for the comment and the question. I appreciate it. I will preface this entire response by saying, if you want to hear from somebody who actually understands this and uses shotgun microphones, go check out SoundSpeeds' YouTube channel. He did a video where he tested out the Rode NTG8, if I'm remembering correctly, and that is 4 feet long. With that being said, the Sennheiser MKH416 should be better than something like the Rode NT camera top shotgun microphone. My understanding of why it would perform better in this situation is the fact that it has a longer interference tube. What that allows the microphone to do is reject more from the sides and be more directional to the front. So it comes across as having a bit more reach. And for this example, I have the Rode camera top microphone and the Sennheiser MKH416 directly next to it, about 2 inches away, both pointed directly at my mouth at the exact same level, and I will be switching back and forth between them. Here is the Rode camera top microphone, this is the Rode camera top microphone, and now here is the Sennheiser MKH416, the Sennheiser MKH416. So in this situation where both microphones are 6 feet away, you can spend $1,000 and get the MKH416. The performance is still going to be subpar. But if you're comparing the camera top microphone to the Sennheiser MKH416 about 12 inches away from my mouth being overhead mic'd, 10 times out of 10, the Sennheiser will sound better because it's closer to the sound source. And if I had to pick between the Rode camera top microphone in the exact same position as the MKH416 in this situation, I would still probably pick the MKH416. But there you go, that is the response. If you want to know a lot more about it, go check out SoundSpeed's YouTube channel and his video, which I will link in the description down below. You will realize that this video is very SoundSpeed's link intensive. So there you go. Hopefully that helped. Thanks for the question. Back to studio, Bandrew. Next, we have a comment from Elvin Spellmaker, and he says, or she says, or they says, please send audio and video as you get to have a break from me. Proceeds to reread the question out. Ha ha. Elvin Spellmaker, I don't like you coming into my house and dropping this tude. I don't like your attitude. Drop it, mister. Or Mrs. I don't appreciate it. Let me explain something to you, pal. As I poke your chest, listen here, buddy, sport, other degrading things like that. There's a very specific reason why I do that. First off, sometimes people aren't concise. People do not say, hi, Bandrew, here is my question. Thank you, bye. I like reiterating what the question is, because it ensures people understand what I am answering. Secondly, I have received many a comment, many an email, many a DM that have said, oh my God, Bandrew, I could not stand that person's voice. I could not listen to it. It was painful. I had to click past it. I had to skip them because I was ready to jump out the window. So thank you for restating the question. Otherwise, I would have had no idea what you were talking about. So you may think, oh, Bandrew get a break from me, and then I'm going to read the question out. I think you'll find I don't reread everything that they say. I simply restate, here's what they asked. And that is why I do it. Don't come in my house, pal, and drop that toot. Drop that toot with me, because it hurts my throat. Getting all aggressive with you. How embarrassing. Aren't you embarrassed? Yes, I am embarrassed. Getting all aggressive, and then I develop a cough. Okay. Jeez. Let's go to the last comment from Man Network. He says, hold on, slow down. Are we just gonna skip by the Joe Bob Briggs marathon comment like it didn't even happen? You know, Bandrew, I liked you already beforehand, but you might have just made a stalker out of me. Oh boy, I don't know where that accent came from. I don't know if the Man Network even speaks with an accent. But I imagine they do. And I imagine the fact that I drink out of my water bottle with a straw. That was really weird. The fact that I drink out of my water bottle with a straw kind of eliminates my ability to watch a channel called the Man Network. I seem to have gotten a bit off topic. Yes, I love Joe Bob Briggs. Yes, I watch Joe Bob Briggs. And yes, I live for Joe Bob Briggs. No, I am not a member of a cult. Thank you for asking. I only subscribe to a single video streaming service. I don't sub to Netflix. I don't sub to Disney Plus or Hulu or CISO or Paramount Urethra streaming. None of it. I don't give a damn about any of it. I subscribe to Shudder for one reason and one reason only. The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob Briggs. If you don't know who he is, he is a horror movie marathon guy, a late night TV movie host type person. He's been doing it since the 80s or 90s. Monster Vision on TNT. He did some form of drive-in show in the 90s, early 2000s. He's been a movie critic for decades, and he is way too smart for his own good. He did a book, How the Redneck Saved Hollywood, something like that. He's a Southern boy, Southern Texas boy that is very smart, and he appreciates a good horror film. Not to mention, he appreciates a good sidekick. A good sidekick. He has a male girl on his show. I certainly don't watch for her. No. Auga. Certainly not. I would never do that. And I am embarrassed that I just said auga. It's a pretty lady. He's always had a pretty lady on his show as a co-host, fronting as the male girl. That's the way it works. But he shows horror films. He talks about them up front. He says, here's what's going to happen. Here are how many kills. Here are how many head rolls. This type of kung fu, that type of kung fu, all types of kung fu. And then you watch the movie, they interrupt it. Hey, we have somebody from the movie. Let's talk to the director. Back to the movie. Hey, here's an actor from the movie. Let's go back to the movie. Hey, here's some trivia about the movie. Okay, let's wrap up the movie. It's a fun way to watch a movie. It takes me back to the 90s. Unfortunately, I was not aware of Joe Bob Briggs until 2017, I think is when The Last Drive-In came back. I didn't watch Monster Vision. I didn't watch what he did before 2017. And I regret that. But I didn't have cable growing up, so I couldn't have. TNT was cable. So I couldn't. But over the years, I have acquired a very healthy, or some would say a disturbing, appreciation for horror movies. I like Joe Bob Briggs' analysis. I like his presentation style. I think he is a very likable host. Darcy the Mail Girl, also very easy on the eyes, but on top of that, she was a huge advocate to bring The Last Drive-In back. Extremely knowledgeable about horror films, so they play really well off of each other. If you're into horror movies, chances are you already subscribe to Shudder, but if you don't, well worth a watch. I'm kind of concerned about it. AMC owns Shudder, and I believe AMC just did a bunch of layoffs. I tried to watch The Last Drive-In for Valentine's Day. I couldn't stream it on my Apple TV. The entire app was down. I had to watch it on my iPad. It sucked. So I'm concerned. Is Shudder going to be around much longer? I hope so. And if it's not, find a way to get all The Last Drive-In somewhere else. Put it on DVD. I will buy it. I will throw my money at you. I want the show. I love the show. I need the show. The Man Network. Can you tell why I don't come across as a big burly man? I can't even do the voice without coughing up a lung. That's it. Let's jump to my favorite part of the show, the Ask Bandrew segment. All right, welcome back to the Ask Bandrew segment, the segment where you ask me, Bandrew, and I answer you questionnaire. If you have questions that you want to ask me and have me try to answer, go to askbandrew.com. Again, askbandrew.com. Let me swallow some saliva. Gross. AskBandrew.com. There are instructions on how to send in audio, video, and text. I do prefer audio and video because then you get a break from hearing me read. We get to hear how you sound on your equipment, and that's just a ton of fun for all of us. I would appreciate if you kept it under 60 seconds, under 90 seconds at the max. That would be fantastic. And yes, I will restate your question because that is good etiquette. Elvin Spellmaker, you big old butt. You big old butthead. Okay, first voice submission comes from the CSB.lol. Take it away. Comic strip blogger.
Greetings, fellow Earthling. So, CSP from Poland and Gregory Foreman from England have a podcast called AI.Cooking, and Gregory is recording and editing this podcast with use of Moto Ultralight MK4 and Electro Voice Ray 320 microphone. Question: CSP has a feeling that levels in that podcast are much lower than in well-known podcasts like No Agenda. Can you give advice how to achieve professional levels in that podcast?
I am absolutely shook because I thought that CSB was a big burly man from Poland. Turns out he is a woman. CSB is a woman? No, that was an AI-generated voice. I am sure CSB is a big burly man from Poland with a deep, robust voice. He is not a woman. He does not have a woman's voice. I hope he's not upset about that. The first thing that I want to do is determine the loudness of a few different podcasts, and for all the nitpicky folk out there, I want to disclose this is not a perfect measurement. I am not measuring the entirety of the show. I don't have time for that. This is measuring 1 minute of audio from 3 different shows. First one, AI.Cooking. The integrated loudness is minus 15.8 LUFS. Loudness units full scale. BSP. The integrated loudness, it is minus 15 LUFS. No Agenda. The integrated loudness, minus 9.5 LUFS. Minus 9.5 LUFS. You may not understand this. That is bonkers. That is insanity in terms of loudness. There is no law with podcasting. There are no set rules. There are no regulations with podcasting. But there is a generally accepted practice. Some people fight against it, but there is a generally accepted practice of aiming for negative 16 LUFS for a stereo podcast. AI.Cooking is just around there. Minus 15.8, great loudness. BSP, for that section, minus 15 LUFS, close enough. Overall, the show is minus 16, but that section, minus 15, that's good. No Agenda is just in a different stratosphere in terms of loudness. And to demonstrate this, I actually have the waveforms. If you are not watching, go to bandrewsays.com, BSP-339. The first show is No Agenda. The second show is AI.Cooking. The third show is BSP. If you look at AI.Cooking and the BSP, there are plenty of dynamics. There are loud parts, there are quiet parts. Plenty of dynamics, plenty of differentiation between those two. Then, when you look at No Agenda, this looks like a dubstep track. I don't mean to denigrate No Agenda. I don't mean to talk down to them because they are professionals, they are wonderful at what they do, and they have the sound that they want. I have never been the biggest fan of No Agenda's processing. To me, it's just nothing that I would be seeking. It's nothing that I would want my show to sound like. There are plenty of schools of thought here. No Agenda has gone the radio broadcast style of processing. Very compressed, very limited, brick wall limited, and loudness up the wazoo. For me, I prefer a bit more natural of a sound. I know there are going to be podcasters who say, natural of a sound? Bandrew, what? Yes, I prefer a relatively natural sound. My compression doesn't get crazy. I may get closer to a microphone, so we do have proximity effect. But all in all, I have a pretty natural sounding podcast. That's how I would classify my processing approach. My goal is not to sound like a broadcast, not to sound like a radio broadcast, because I don't have FCC regulations. I don't need it to be like that. I do need some compression, some limiting to ensure an easier listening experience for my audience, but that's as far as I will go. So I don't think you need to aim for a loudness similar to No Agenda. There is one thing that I noticed listening to the latest episode of AI.cooking. That would be that Gwyff, Gregory William Forsyth Foreman Forth from Kent. Did I get it right? Did I remember that? He's very dynamic. What I mean is, he will get really excited and loud, and then he will drift off and speak a little bit quieter. And because he has those loud peaks, that will skew the results and make the audio seem a bit louder. Or the measurement tools will mark it as being louder rather. So what I would recommend is doing a bit more compression on your audio. That way the really loud parts are pulled down and there's less difference between the really excited loud Gwyff and the quieter Gwyff. And then I am going to throw a link in the description to something called Julian Loudness Meter. This gives you loudness in LUFS, loudness units full scale. I think your overall loudness of the show, -16 LUFS, great. But I would recommend decreasing the LU range from 7, which is where you're at, to around 4. My show is around 3.6 in terms of the LU range. No Agenda is 3. I think if you hit a range of 4, you would be golden. The loudness is good. I don't recommend shooting for a -9 LUFS loudness. That is just bonkers loud. Crazy loud. There you go. CSB, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for sending in the question. Gwyff, I hope you can get your audio to the standards that CSB wants. Get to work, buddy. Get to work, pal. You got this. All right. Next, we have a video submission from Dario Baker. I do have a disclaimer, but again, I must swallow some saliva, and this microphone picks up all of it. So I need to move the microphone away while I do this. All right. About 20 seconds into this submission, Dario engages some processing. If you're watching, there will be a note on screen, but if you are listening, you will hear the difference. It is the exact same microphone, the exact same recording, but the audio processing is engaged about 20 seconds in. Dario, take it away, good sir.
What's up, Bandrew? My name is Dario Baker. I'm a recording engineer from Cleveland, Ohio. I am recording off of my iPhone SE 2022. I'm about over 16 inches away from the microphone. I'm recording in my bedroom. I have a heater next to me. I am sending this video in response to your last video in which you were responding to somebody asking if you should use a lavalier mic or a shotgun mic, in which he was about 6 feet away. I agree, he shouldn't use from that far away, but if he did use it from that far away, I would suggest that he use the Adobe AI if he wants to, if he is not able to have a mic set up any closer. So that's it. I appreciate you for having my submission. Thank you.
Dario, thank you very much for the video submission. I really do appreciate you taking the time out of your day to demonstrate that and light a fire under my rear end to start playing with Adobe Podcast AI. Up until today, I have never used it. My only exposure to Adobe Podcasting AI was through Sound Speeds, and then also the Scottish Watches podcast. Scottish Watches podcast, Ricky, sent in a clip. Here's the raw audio. This sounds terrible. Here's what Adobe Podcast AI can do to fix that. Sounded great. Comparison-wise, sounded wonderful. Taking that garbage audio, 4 people, 3 people around a table. Around a Yeti, it sounded like, in omnidirectional mode, and then turning it into 3 SM7Bs. Pretty damn impressive. The sound speed sample, some of the audio sounded good, some of it sounded really bad. But those two experiences, my only exposure with Adobe Podcast Ai. So I wanted to get a little bit of real-world experience using this AI processing, and I wanted to see if this could actually be used to improve audio of a camera top shotgun microphone that is 6 feet away. To do this, I set up a camera top shotgun microphone in my living room, which is a massive room that is untreated. I recorded some audio, and let us go to that sample. All right, out of curiosity, I am back in my living room, my untreated space. I have the Rode camera top microphone set up, and again, 6 feet away from the camera and 6 feet away from the microphone. This is my very first experience trying Adobe Podcast AI, so I will go ahead and turn on the processing right now. That was my attempt at a snap. I suck at snapping. I don't know if you could hear that. But this is what Adobe Podcast AI would sound like if you are running it on a microphone that is 6 feet away from you in a completely untreated space that is 30 feet long, maybe? 15 by 35, maybe? I don't know. A big untreated room. Here is how it would sound. This is the untreated audio. And this is the treated audio. Here is the untreated audio. And here is the treated Adobe Podcast AI audio. Dario, thank you very much for the video submission and the recommendation. If anybody wants to check out Dario's channel, I will link it in the episode notes. And also, if you want extensive and in-depth testing and demonstrations of Adobe Podcast AI, I will link Sound Speed's video in the episode notes as well. All right, I just listened back. I was surprised at how bad this sounded. I was expecting this to be a lot better. Based on how impressed I was with Adobe Podcast AI from the Scottish Watches sample, based on a couple of samples from the Sound Speed's YouTube demo that he did, I was expecting some decent results here. No. I don't think that was usable at all. It sounded incredibly artificial, incredibly robotic. My voice was getting cut off. It didn't sound like me. I think that was unusable. I think the camera top audio is pretty damn bad, but I would choose to use the camera top audio over that Adobe Podcast AI processing. I have heard this processing do wonders, but it seems as though once you get farther than a couple of feet away from the microphone and you have too much reverb, it falls apart. I would never be okay with that audio. That was brutal. I appreciate the recommendation and the voice submission, the video submission, because it did light that fire under me to actually start testing this out, trying it out. I'm surprised to say I am extremely disappointed with the processing that it did, and I would not be using that. So if you have the budget, if you have the technical capability to improve your audio before you start recording, do that. I know Dario would agree with this. I know every single recording engineer, every single audio engineer, every single audiophile, every single audio curator would agree with this. Before you hit record, make sure your audio is as good as it can possibly be. Do not rely on post-processing to fix garbage audio. Garbage in, garbage out. You should get your audio to that 95% perfect level and then use the post-processing to add that last 5%. I think that's the purpose of post-processing, not, this sounds like garbage, let's try to fix it. Now, I am not saying that Adobe Podcast AI has no use. It is clear that it has plenty of uses. If you have a recording on your phone, you're just out and about, and you run into somebody and you need to record, but you want it to sound a lot better, absolutely, it can do that. You don't have a situation where you can set up 4 microphones. Getting a Yeti, putting it on Omni, maybe that will work. That is an application for this processing. If you have the technical know-how, the tools at your disposal, do not get complacent because of this. Do not rely on this to fix your audio. I found that appallingly bad. That was terrible. And I would be disappointed in myself and in the final product if I said, oh, you know what, audio's not great, whatever, man. We'll just roll with it. We'll fix it in post. Adobe Podcast Ai. Let's go ahead and fix it there. And I don't think that's what Dario is recommending. I don't think Dario, to be clear, I am not coming at Dario. I am just pointing out, I don't think anybody should be relying on this. This should be a last-ditch effort. This should be the last tool in your tool chest to fix up audio. Step 1 is always and will always be get your audio as good as you possibly can before you hit record. Because of that rule or law, it should be, and because of the test that I just made in the untreated space, running that through Adobe Podcast AI, my recommendation to MUTANTS holds true. Don't put a shotgun microphone 6 feet away from the sound source on top of your camera. Get the shotgun microphone 12 inches away. You're 5 feet closer to the sound source. It will sound infinitely better, even if the microphone that is 6 feet away is run through Adobe Podcast AI. Thank you very much, Dario. Thank you very much, MUTANTS. And that is it for this week's episode. I have nothing else. I appreciate you coming by this week. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening. I love you so much. You are an amazing human being. I hope that you have an amazing Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Next Sunday, I will talk at you. You are the greatest human being that has ever lived. I will talk at you next week. I love you so much. Talk to you then. Bye-bye. Whoa. 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 Boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.